Hey everyone, welcome back to another video in my Learning to Draw video series. Today we're going to go over one-point perspective. Specifically, I'm going to show you guys how to do boxes in space. And in this example, I asked my students to do 25 boxes in space. We're going to focus just on doing a line drawing for this. And then later, if you want to challenge yourself, you can go ahead and try to fill this in with shading. All right, so what is one-point perspective? You have probably seen perspective used in either drawings, or you've seen perspective in how you see photographs. But perspective is basically the art of drawing solid objects on a two-dimensional surface so as to give the right impression of their height, width, depth, and position in relation to each other when viewed from a particular point. Okay, now that sounds like a mouthful, but basically what we're trying to do is trying to figure out how to create a sense of depth on a 2D surface. So this is a 2D surface, but we want to create the illusion that we're looking backwards in space. Okay, and we're doing this specifically with one-point perspective. So the way that one-point perspective works is that your objects all have to be parallel to each other or equidistant to each other. Okay, just showing you a quick another example of one-point perspective where these walls are equidistant from each other, and that's what's allowing this to work in one-point perspective. Okay. So to get going with this, what we want to do is grab a white piece of paper, a ruler, and a triangle if you have one. All right, so the first thing that we're going to want to do is connect our two corners, the top and the bottom corner of our paper, and we're going to place a diagonal line in roughly the middle of our paper. We'll do the same thing on the other side. And this X will denote the perfect middle of our paper. Now we'll take our triangle and our ruler, and we'll take our ruler and place it to the side of our paper and make sure that it's touching. Okay. Once you do that, we'll take our triangle, make sure this triangle goes right up against that ruler, and make sure once it does that, we want to see that the bottom of the ruler is touching that X. When you have it, go ahead and place a little bit of pressure, draw a line straight across. Just finishing that line. And this represents our horizon line. So everything above this line is the sky, and everything below is the ground. All right. Okay, so let me show you guys how to get started with doing our boxes in space. So using our triangle again, I'm going to first start off by showing you how to do this with the triangle and the ruler. And then if you don't have a triangle, I'll show you on this side how to do it just with your ruler. So you can do it both ways. If you have a triangle, you can definitely be more accurate. So let's take our ruler and place it on the right-hand side of our paper. Take our triangle and slide it up and down until you get to a point where you've decided where you want to put your rectangle. So let's start on the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and just draw a line across. It really doesn't matter how wide you go, okay? Once you do that, take your ruler and then slide it down. And you can decide how big you want your box to be. There's no determination, or there's no determined size for it. We're not trying to make a perfect cube, we're just making a box. So that box can be rectangular in its dimension. All right, so now that I have a line below, above and below, I can go ahead and connect the two sides. But we want to make sure that our sides are perfectly straight up and down. So now we'll take our ruler, place it on the bottom of our paper, take our triangle, make sure that our triangle is touching the bottom of the ruler. Let's slide the triangle over. Once it reaches the bottom of the square, or I'm sorry, the bottom of the the bottom corner of our box, we'll just draw a line up. Next, we'll slide this over, and we'll connect these two lines together. So we've made our first box, and the most important thing when setting these up is to make sure that these boxes are perfectly parallel with the horizon. Move this out of the way. So when we're looking at this, we want to make sure that this line and this bottom line are perfectly parallel with that horizon line. And that triangle is making sure that we do that. Okay, now comes the fun part. Now we're going to take this corner, and this corner, and we're going to connect it to our vanishing point. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that a little bit darker just so it's a little easier to see on our camera. I'm also just going to label this VP for vanishing point. And this is our horizon line. Okay, let's go ahead and connect these corners to the vanishing point. So there's one. When I draw these lines, please, if you can, I would advise you to keep your lines a bit on the lighter side. To make sure you guys see it on camera, I'm making mine just a normal, I'm pressing down like just normally. So that way it's nice and clear. But you're going to have to go ahead and erase some of these lines, so it's best if you keep your lines a bit on the lighter side. All right, so we have our box, but it's infinitely going all the way back in space. So we kind of need to put an end to our box. So to do that, once again, we're going to grab our triangle and our ruler. So let's go ahead and put our ruler at the bottom of our paper. Let's grab our triangle. And we take our triangle, and then we can just slide across as much as we want. So depending on how far you slide, that will determine the length of the box. So let's go ahead and just do this. Now once we do that, we want to create the top of our box. So to do that, we'll take our ruler, put it to the side of our paper, make sure that that's touching. Take our triangle, have it go right up against that ruler, slide it down until it touches that corner, and we'll go across. Now you completed your first box. To finalize this, we'll take our eraser and just erase all of the diagonal lines that are receding back to the vanishing point. All right, let's go ahead and make another box just to make sure you guys have this. So once again, let's grab our ruler, put it up against the side of our paper, grab the triangle, make sure it's flat up against the ruler, slide it up and down, and you can start your box anywhere that you want. So we're going to go ahead and start our box here. We'll slide it up. Oh, my ruler pushed out. Let's slide this up. And I am just eyeballing how far to do this, but I want to make sure that my lines kind of align with the bottom, the two edges of my bottom line, roughly. All right, now let's switch. Let's put our ruler on the top, grab our triangle, make sure it goes right up against the edge of the ruler. We're going to connect these two lines. I'm moving a little bit, sorry about that. And we're going to connect these two. Okay, so I have another box. And now we'll connect these these 3 points back to this vanishing point. So let's go ahead and do that. Just a reminder, as you're doing these lines, keep them on the lighter side. I'm applying normal pressure right now just so that you can see it clearly on the camera. Okay, now we need to show the edge of the box. So let's go ahead and grab our ruler, put it to the edge of our paper, grab the triangle. Let me just make sure that that's aligned. And then you can decide how much you want to go up or down with it. It really doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and put our ruler on the top. Take our triangle, make sure it goes right up against the edge of the ruler. Sorry about that. Let me just press down. I'm going to switch hands here. I'm not left-handed. Okay, there we go. Let's erase the lines that are going here. And we finished that box. Okay, let's do a box on this side, but this time I'm only going to use my ruler. So let's say you don't have a triangle at home or in your studio or wherever you're working, maybe at school, and you just have a ruler. So how can you go ahead and do this? Well, what we want to do when we make our first box is we want to make sure that as we draw our lines, that our ruler is not crooked. So what you can do is, if you want to eyeball it, you could just take your ruler at the horizon line and then just slide it down. Okay. Now, in order to make sure that your horizon is at a 90-degree angle, what you could do is, with your ruler, just measure the edge of your paper and then just grab the middle number that's here. So this should be at 4.5 on my ruler because the paper is roughly 9 inches wide. Okay, so I can make a mark on this side, 4.5. I'll also make a 4.5 mark here, and then you draw a straight line across. So getting that horizon line perfectly even across is really going to help you with doing everything else if you're doing this with just a ruler. Now we can take our ruler, put it right up against the horizon line, and just start to slide it down. And as we slide it down, you can start to see if your ruler is getting crooked or not. A way of helping you out is, if you have a ruler with a nice crisp end, you can just take your ruler and make sure that the edge of the ruler is pushed right up against the edge of the paper, so that when you're looking at the ruler, it's not leaving any space with the paper. All right, so I'm just going to move this up a little bit. Go ahead, draw a line out. We'll slide this down. Check the edge of the ruler, make sure it's right up against the edge of the paper. You can also look at the ruler in comparison to the bottom of your paper. So right now this looked like this was lifting up a little bit. So if I pull this down, this looks like it's pretty even to me. Let's go across. We're going to do the same thing here. You could start off by just moving your ruler right up against the edge of the paper and then going across. And I'm just going to make sure that the bottom of my ruler, just make sure you guys can see that the bottom of my ruler is touching the bottom of the paper. So when it is, I'll connect these two lines. Let's go ahead and slide across. Do the same thing, make sure the bottom of the ruler is touching the edge of the paper. And we'll connect those two. Okay. Now we'll connect these 3 points to our vanishing point. Okay, now let me just throw in a possible error that you can make. Let's say by accident you connected the 4th corner and it looks like that. If it looks like you're drawing a line on top of the actual box, then this line is incorrect. You really shouldn't be using that. So you don't want to have a line going on top of your box or your square. So let's go ahead and finish this box. So we'll take our ruler, we'll slide it across, and now I'm checking to see that the distance between here and here is about even. All right, so definitely a lot easier with a triangle, much more precise, but for those of you who are maybe just a little impatient, maybe not using a ruler might be more fun because you could just kind of fly through this. Definitely a little bit faster just using a ruler. All right, so we've finished that box, and we're going to erase our lines that recede back. So these lines that are receding back, the technical term for those are orthogonal lines. Okay, but we could just call them diagonal lines, that's fine. All right, I've got one more box to do, and that's going to be a box that's actually going to go right on the horizon line. So we've done a box above and two boxes below. Now we're going to do one right on the side. So I'm just going to use my ruler for this one. And to make my life easy, I'm just going to have the ruler just touch the edge of the paper. Once I do, I'll just draw a box that's doing this. Okay. And we're going to make this, let's actually make this a little bit of a taller one. Okay. And I want this, the point of this box is that the box is actually going over the horizon line. So this one's above, these two are below, but this one's going to be right on. Done that. Let's go ahead and check that the top is okay. I can check with my with the edge of my ruler. So I'm making sure that the edge of my ruler is just touching the edge of the paper there. Let's do the same thing on the bottom. We're going to make sure that the edge of our ruler is touching the edge of our paper. Okay. Now, instead of connecting 3 points, if your box is going over the horizon line, you're only going to be connecting 2 points, the top and the bottom. So, as a reminder, let's keep our lines light. So let's connect that bottom and the top and have it go all the way back. Now let's take our ruler and slide it across. And this is our box, and we just need to erase our two diagonal lines. Okay? All right, I'm going to stop right there. So try to see how many boxes you can create on your paper. I hope I brought you some value today. If you would, please like and subscribe to this channel so I can continue to bring you more content for your artistic journey. Thanks and have a great day.